Hi everyone, I'm Kev and welcome back to this week's Draw Along. This week, inspired by the work of Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, as well as other comics creators, I'm going to show you how to create a crime noir comic page. To make the perfect crime noir comic, we need a hard-boiled detective, a femme fatale, and lots of shadows. Okay, so here's the story we're going to draw. A detective walks back into his dimly lit office after getting into a scrape with a suspect. He is slightly disheveled, his shirt untucked and his tie is askew. On his desk is a beautiful woman in a red dress, smoking a cigarette and aiming a snubnosed revolver at him. We then get a close-up of the detective as a gunshot rings out. So this is going to be a 3-panel story. Okay, to start with then, I always do my blue line drawing, and I just laid out the page from that storyline. So I wanted a 3-panel grid. The main focus of the page was the femme fatale character in the centre of the page. So we have the detective walking in, noticing the femme fatale. I had her in the top panel as well because I thought it would be cool seeing to see her smoking, so he knows what he's kind of walking into. Then we have the female character kind of reclining back on the table, aiming the gun at our detective, and then the detective is shocked to see her, as well as being possibly shot. There is a gunshot, we don't know if he was shot or not. So panel 1, let's do panel 1 first. Just going to ink it and stuff. Make sure I get those lines in properly. So yeah, on that first panel I wanted her to be kind of like just ignoring the fact that he's walked in. Just smoking away. The detective, I wanted, so the light's coming from behind him, so his face is going to be completely in shadow. So we're not going to see his initial reaction to seeing this lady sitting on his desk. Like I said, his face is going to be fully in shadow. And it adds to the kind of the mystery. That's the thing with crime noir. It's about the mystery as well. But the way I like to think of the story, she's a ex-wife or someone coming to get some money, revenge. I don't know. There's a history between the two characters. So as you can see, yeah, like the only kind of light reflecting is kind of off his nose, a bit off his chin as well. And the same for the shirt and trousers. The majority of it's all going to be kind of covered in shadow. So that light's only coming from the hallway. It just fills that shadow in on the arm as well. Then it comes to the hand, so I should have drew this out before I started inking it when thinking back on it. He's holding the doorknob, but yeah, that hand isn't the best. So adding some shadow onto her face now. And I was just playing around here. Again, if you're going to draw out your page in pencil first, play around in the pencil stage. If you're drawing it out traditionally, not digitally. As you can see, I'm kind of annoying. I just shoot around through the page. So now I'm just filling in the heavy blacks on the walls. Like I said, everything's bathed in shadow. You look at the crime noir comics, you look at like something drawn by Sean Phillips, or especially like Sin City by Frank Miller, everything's bathed in shadow. Thick black lines, thick black shadows everywhere. Have that mesh on the door, Okay, then on to panel 3, before we start the big one, panel 2. So this is just me doing the line art to begin with. Make sure I have that look of a kind of shock on his face. And just making sure everything's right. So I didn't know what time period to set this in. I'll kind of set it more in the modern day, so he's have a bit more of a modern day haircut than like a 1930s haircut or anything. There's a laptop on the desk as well when we come on to the other thing. So right now what I'm doing is the shadow. Again, because I didn't plan this out, I didn't do it in the penciling stage, I've gone on a different layer. I've lowered the opacity of the layer so I can see what the shadows are going to look like just with that grayscale at first before I change it to the darker blacks. So again, as you can see, it's the shadows on the front of his face, and I've kind of had the light source coming from the bottom. Yeah, I've done kind of a weird light source with this one. So the light's kind of coming up from under him. And again, in crime noir comics, same with kind of horror comics and stuff, shadow is used to help create tension and drama. The shadow on his face is helping to like convey that something bad has happened. And again, with the disheveled detective, he's going to have stubble. Everywhere. So yeah, I was happy with that. So then I went in and decided to kind of texture the shadow a bit. So what I do is grab my eraser tool and just start cutting in to that dark shadow. I've started trying using this after reading the X-Men, Astonishing X-Men, and looking at John Cassaday's work. He's kind of got this kind of like feathered inking style going on. So yeah. And adding some shine to that hair as well. And going and filling in the shirt. And that's pretty much panel 3 done. So now on to the big one. Okay, now on to the Femme Fatale. So yeah, just gonna carry on just doing the inking, the line work. I had a little trouble with the chin. I didn't think it came out. It's a weird angle to draw under the chin. But when you see the final piece, I think I figured it out pretty well. So I wanted to give her like a beauty spot because I thought that's kind of a femme fatale thing to have. Just going in and yeah, like I said, doing the line work. So she's in this reclining position, so her kind of hips are forwards and her torso is back slightly. And she's just come back from a ball or something. Make sure she's got that cigarette in her hand as well. That's the composition. Also wanted to use that Dutch angle. Yeah, use that Dutch angle to show that something dramatic is about to happen. Another thing, yeah, when you're composing any kind of comic page is make sure you like change up your camera angles. So for that first panel, I kind of got like a medium shot. We can see kind of like from the torso and that. Third panel is a close-up, And this one is kind of our like a wide angle shot. It's a kind of a money shot. We're looking up at her, so as well, that also adds to the fact that we're looking up on her. It shows that she's kind of in control of the situation. Whenever we look up at a character, it's kind of giving us the idea that they're in control of the situation. So yeah, now going on to the shadowing. We can see, so there's a few light sources. So there's a light source coming from behind her, from the blinds, and there's a bit of light coming from the door. So that's where our light sources are. Again, I just went with what I thought felt natural. So there's going to be a little bit of light hitting both sides of her arms. Anything that's kind of like underneath her, so like under her breasts, under her torso, like her belly area, that's going to be covered in shadow. Down here with the skirt, where the folds of the skirt are, that's going to be in shadow. That leg, that back leg reclining against the desk is going to end up being in shadow as well. And I'm not using so much cross hatching with this image, just heavy blacks instead of cross hatching. There's a little bit of hatching going on, but not an awful amount. And now I've gone on to another layer, and I'm just going to draw the desk and the background. So on his desk is a computer, mug, and again that's going to be heavily in black. Again, I've done it in a grayscale so I can see everything first. Make sure it's right. So there's going to be a bit of hatching here and there. Just to break up some of those blacks as well. Because the carpet is, I want to show that the desk is separate from the carpet. And onto our ceiling. And now I wanted to do the blinds. I really like it in like Frank Miller's, like in Sin City and that, and even Dark Knight Returns, and I think he does it in Daredevil as well, like those kind of office blinds. Mine are a bit squiffy. But I don't know, it kind of adds to the charm. Maybe he's very paranoid and is constantly like bending his blinds to look out the window, and it's kind of crunched them up and then they're no longer straight. So I've just erased anything under the layer and on these grey layers, so they don't interfere with the top layer. There we go. Then it's just a case of tidying things up. Just making sure shadows look a bit better, a bit darker, a bit of light here and there. So there's some light on the desk. That's just to show you for some reason. As well, that was just to show the leg length against it. And yeah. That's a little bits and bobs, fixing things here and there. Trying things out. And then I added the red. And I'm going to add a blam or bang next to And there we have it, folks, our crime noir comic. Now it's your turn. It would be great to see your take on this story and how you would draw this scene from the description I gave earlier in the video. That description will be put down in the video description below as well. If you do draw along, please send your images or tag me on Instagram at KevsDrawAlong, or tag the Nerdherd Comic Book Club, which is at the Nerdherd Comic Book Club, also on Instagram. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like or a comment. And that's it for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.